The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of the radio affiliates here in Lancaster. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. This program is actually shot on location at Fairfield Christian Academy. Appreciate the students that put this program together. Our executive producer is Kelly Roberts and does a great job getting the questions, lining the guests up. This is a special show. We've done this for the last couple of years where we have our bureau commanders within the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office talk about the year in review. And then next week, we're going to talk about some of the plans they have for next year. And so it's a great program, and we've got a great command staff within the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. These guys are actually the leaders within the agency, and again, it's great working right along with these guys. We have Lieutenant Tim Voris, who is our Detective Bureau Commander, Lieutenant Alex Lape, our Patrol Commander, and Lieutenant Mark Churchill is the Jail Commander. So those areas take in the vast majority of the Sheriff's Office outside the Civil Division and a number of other smaller units. Well, it's good to have you here today.
Good to have you, sir.
Yeah. And so we've got a lot to talk about. Let's start with you, Lieutenant. Talk about some of the highlights last year within the Detective Bureau.
Well, it's been a busy year for us. We're currently investigating about 680 cases to the detectives that are assigned to the Detective Bureau. And we have a new detective this year, Detective David Maple. And he's been a great addition to the Detective Bureau, doing a great job and kind of picking things up and running with the ball and doing a great job in the Detective Bureau. Just kind of an overview. We continue to investigate serious felony crimes in the county, from residential property crimes to the serious assaults and those type nature of crimes. We completed the Kelly Thompson murder that happened out in Richland Township there, and we made an arrest on that and got a conviction on that case and solved that case. Baltimore had a robbery in Baltimore later in the year. Lancaster had a couple robberies. We were able to work with Lancaster Police Department and Baltimore Police Department, made an arrest in those. So that was a big investigation that Detective Andy Roberts did a great job investigating several of those, and we're continuing to make some progress with those. Like I said, we made an arrest on that.
So lots of things going on in the Detective Bureau. We could spend 3 programs talking about all the things going on in the Detective Bureau.
Yes, sir.
Lots of things going on. Lieutenant Alex Lape, Patrol Commander. What's going on? What's happening in the Patrol Division?
Well, the Patrol Division's responding to calls for service. We're checking vacation checks, serving court paperwork. We're staying really busy.
And so last year, as far as the Patrol Division, any major incidents? I know the last one certainly was when Lyle Campbell was hit and seriously injured. Fortunately, he's recovering, and then certainly one of the people were killed out of that situation.
Yeah, unfortunately, we deal with a variety of things from. And a lot of the things that the Detective Bureau ends up investigating, we initially are first on scene and end up doing the initial investigation and making the call whether or not to contact the Detective Bureau based on the seriousness of the crime. We're handling a lot of different property thefts, all kinds of, unfortunately some domestic disputes that at times get more serious than what we typically deal with on the patrol level, so the Detective Bureau gets involved, and just kind of busy doing all kinds of things.
All kind of things.
Yeah, one of the things I think we worked real well together was on the Lauenberger thefts. We had a group of individuals that were going around the county and they were committing burglaries in the county. And one of the things they were taking out of these burglaries were Lauenberger baskets. Lieutenant Lape and I was out one day with the detectives and patrol guys and actually made an apprehension and arrest on 3 guys that had broken into 2 homes in an area there in Bloom Township. So it worked well together.
Yeah, it's always good to make an arrest in progress.
Yeah, and once in a while that happens.
Yep, and that was a case where it did.
And I think, and this hasn't changed very much over the years, I think we still see a disproportionate number of crimes committed by individuals that are addicted to drugs. I don't know that that's changed any this year, or any trending or anything as far as that's concerned.
Not that we see. We actually, at least on our end of it, that's still probably the single motivating factor involved with a lot of these property thefts. On that note, though, we have used our naloxone on an occasion to bring somebody back to life that has overdosed when a deputy was dispatched and responded to the location where this person was and administered the nasal mist and brought that person back.
Yeah, and that's something that's just been put in the cruisers this past year, too.
It's all the deputies have been trained in how to use it, and I've even received the training. So in every frontline patrol car, we have a dose of naloxone to assist in that event.
Because the reality, many times, the deputies are the first on the scene. And they will be there many times before an ambulance gets there. Jail Bureau, Lieutenant Mark Churchill, what's going on? What's happened? Big news in the jail this past year.
Well, I'd be honest with you, it's hard to believe that it's been a year since we've last sat here and talked about.
I thought the same thing as we were talking about this.
I think one of the major things that I've seen is that we've had great communication among the people at this table, sharing things that are going on, working together to resolve personnel issues. So I think that's probably one of the bigger things that I'm pretty happy about this year is we've had great communication among the 3 bureau commanders.
Right.
Within the jail, we've done some facility upgrades. We've upgraded security issues with the minimum security jail and also out at the jail annex. We did have some black zones, which was areas that we didn't have cameras on, and we were starting to get some drops there, and we were able to install some new cameras and do some modification to the window structures, and it has completely eliminated contraband drops at the jail annex, which was a major concern. So one of the other things we did is the Bureau of Adult Detention came out with new state minimum jail standards late last year, and we did a lot of incorporating those into the new jail standard operating procedures, which we released in 2014. Due to some recent jail inspections, we're going to do a little more policy modifications. We were actually doing the work, we just didn't put it in the policy that we're doing it. So,
okay.
Other than that, I think one of the highlights was working with the lieutenants and Alyssa Dowdy this year with revising the directives for the office, and then later on with the supervisor's manual. I felt that was one of my major accomplishments of the year.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times people kind of, when they think about what law enforcement does, how important it is to have proper policies and procedures, directives, and so there's an expectation from the community when a deputy goes on the scene, when they're investigating a crime, when someone's slated into the jail, there's a consistency in how those things happen. Right. And it's everything can be a little bit different, but at least we know how officers are supposed to respond in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
Now, the other big news, of course, is the jail is now underway.
Yes,
and I know
it is.
you played a part of that.
Yeah, I work real close with Chief Deputy Perigo on the facility side that's for the jail side, and it's very interesting to see all of the components that go into constructing a new facility. Some of the things that you would just never think of, like where to put security cameras or how to put wiring into the facility, whether it's going to be through walls or under the ground. So it's been an eye-opening experience, and I'm really enjoying it. A lot of good information's coming from it, and it's very much needed. So,
what would surprise our viewers or listeners? We'll start with you, Lieutenant. Something that would surprise them about the Detective Bureau, or something that they may not quite understand. I know a lot of times people have this preconceived idea of what they see on television.
Right.
Or what they hear on the news. Is there something that would be...
You know, the first thing that comes to mind is scams today. We are routinely called. We are seeing all kinds of scams coming across. Most recently, the one was, these individuals were locating a city in the United States. They were choosing a court using a judge's name and using a deputy's name, and were calling people in our county saying they were deputy so-and-so, and that, they had missed a court date for grand jury hearing. And a lot of people were becoming frustrated, and there were several victims that lost a lot of money because they sent money in with that expectation of a fine because they didn't go to grand jury or they didn't go to a hearing.
So a lot of scams going on?
A lot of scams going on daily.
In the patrol division, anything that the viewers and listeners or someone out there may not kind of
I guess the amount of time and the creativity that goes into planning for training. Training is always something that we want to try to keep fresh. If you can imagine that year after year after year, you're doing the same preparation for the same job. But there's always little facets that are changing that we have to keep up with. So we spend a lot of time in training. A lot of times, on my part, it's trying to imagine. It's kind of fun that you're the bad guy and that you get to come up with the training scenario based on that. So they always say to catch a criminal, you have to think like one. So that's the opportunity to do that, and I kind of enjoy some of that.
Well, that's a good point. In the jail, what someone on the outside may not know about what goes on in a jail.
Well, one of the things about is I don't think a lot of people know that we average about 213 inmates a month in the county jail. We did over 200 cell searches this year, making sure that the inmates weren't fabricating contraband or weapons of that nature. The SORN also falls under the jail, and we've actually charged 9 people this year. With
SORN, for our viewers or listeners may not know.
It's Sexually Oriented Registration Network.
Okay, sure.
And he's conducted 417 office visits.
Wow.
And one of the things with the jail, we're also responsible for the Hall of Justice security. And we've had just over 91,000 visitors to the Hall of Justice. We've seized over 1,400 contraband items. We actually located 1 gun in a purse. So it's very critical. So a lot of things that work behind the scenes I don't think a lot of people are aware of.
Right. And, we just have a minute or so left. And I think before we go off the air, I want to make sure that everyone tunes in next week, because we're going to talk about some of the plans that we have for next year, some of the things that we look forward to. Of course, the jail is going to be nearing completion, and we're going to be doing a lot of different things within the detective and the patrol division we'll be talking about next week. And so we got about a minute. New Year's resolutions as we come here on New Year's.
Improvement in myself and improvement in the Detective Bureau.
That's a good one.
Yeah, same here. Just continually improving.
Okay.
Just putting the effort in behind to make sure that we're always getting better.
And I know historically I don't make New Year's resolutions, but
Most people don't, or they make them but they don't follow through.
But I really think one of the ones I'm going to work on this year is I'm going to reduce the amount of pop I drink and pizza I eat. So that's my goal.
That's a personal one there. But that's a good one. That's a good one.
For the office, though, it's just continually make improvements, continue this great communication that we have, and just continue to work on making our sheriff's office the best sheriff's office in the state of Ohio.
And I do think we are the best sheriff's office in the state of Ohio. Well, the clock on the wall says we've got to go. Next week, be sure to tune in, because we're going to talk about our plans for next year. God bless. If you're out there driving, be careful. And we'll see you right here next week, and Happy New Year.
You know what I think? I think you forgot to lock your door. A lot of people do that. They forget. It's too bad, because all crime needs is a chance. Don't give it the chance. It's my job to teach you to protect yourselves. Make it your job to learn. Oh, and one more thing. Lock your door and take a bite out of crime.